town of Saskatchewanians. This is created on this demo tab. So as I said, when we were in model space, you have the whole general area, all the lines and everything. Then we go into paper space, which is these tabs, and you end up creating these viewports in order to window into model space. We're going to create a new layer for our viewports. Generally, it's viewports or VP. We do something special to viewports. We turn it to no plot. Here, this white window, you don't want that border to print when you're creating your sheet layout. So you always turn it to no plot because you can still have your viewport layer turned on. You can still see where the viewports are, but they don't print out. So that's what this no plot does, is it allows a layer to still be turned on, to still be visible, but it doesn't actually print it. So we're going to make that layer current, and now we have our viewports layer as current. To right click on demo, and we're going to go to new layout, and now it creates a new layout tab. So you can only have one model space tab, but you can have multiple layout tabs. In the SAIT metric and the SAIT imperial template files, there are title blocks already on these layout tabs. (206) and we have title block. We're going to go into the metric title block A3. I'm going to open that up. Read only, yes, allow it to open. So it opens up, the title block actually comes in model space. So you're going to select the entire title block and you're just going to go Control-C. So you're going to copy it. And now I'm going to go back to my viewport demo, my original drawing, and go Control-V. And now there is title block. To go into the page setup, so I'm going to right click on the layout tab, page setup manager, and we're going to modify layout 1. I'm going to make it on a PDF. Sheet size is a 3 pen table. We're going to use monochrome. What to plot? I'm going to use window, and I'm going to window the little corner markers up here. Center plot, fit to paper, we're not going to do that because we want it to be 1-to-1. We don't want AutoCAD to squish this title block onto any size of paper. We want it to be a 1-to-1 scale, so we're going to leave it there. And it's in millimeters because we're in a metric drawing. Center the plot, and can go preview. And there we go. We have it nicely centered. That's what our page is going to look like when we print. So I can right-click, exit, and I'm going to click OK and close. So there, this is what my page layout now looks like. The title block is centered. You can right-click on the tab and click Rename. And you can rename the layout tab. So I'm going to call this A3 size. So we're on a viewports layer. We're ready to create some viewports looking into model space. So under the View tab, you're going to create a rectangular viewport. You're going to click on it, specify corner viewport. So basically just draw your viewport window, and there it's looking into model space. If I double click, the border gets fat, and I'm actually in model space now. My cursor is in model space from paper space. So see if I go over here, it's not letting me do anything because I'm actually actively in model space. If I were to draw a line here and then double click to close the viewport, if I go back into model space, the line is there. Okay, so that's what I mean when I say that it's a window into model space. Whereas if I draw a line right now here, because this viewport is not active, it's not fat, I'm not in it, this line is in paper space. It's not in model space anywhere. Double click to make my viewport active. I zoom with my roller, I pan just like I would in model space. So to create my overall site plan, I'm going to size it to be approximately where I want it to be. In the bottom corner, and you'll see there's some digits there, so it's showing you what the decimal equivalent of the scale is. So right now it's at 0.086758. If I zoom out, it gets smaller, 0.05. Zoom in, it gets bigger, 0.1. So down here, if you click this drop-down list, there are some preset scales that you can choose. Pick 1 to 5, so then it zooms in really close, and now the scale is at 1 to 5. You need to make sure that your viewport is active when you do this. So active being you've double-clicked in it and the boundary is fat. You can go, let's say, pick 1 to 40, and it zooms way, way far out. I'm going to zoom into, this is about where I want it to be. I'm going to double-click outside to deactivate my viewport. I can resize it. To change it to the scale I want, I'm going to go back to the Home tab, and I'm going to go under Properties. And under the Properties dialog, there's Viewport, and here is Scale, Custom Scale. So here I can type in a decimal equivalent, 0.08. That's really close to 0.1, which is an even scale factor, so that's the one I'm going to use. So what you do is you get your viewport to be close to the scale, close to the representation that you want, look at what the decimal is at, and then choose a scale that is close to that one so that it only changes the size a wee little bit so that it still represents what you want to show. So I'm going to type 0.1. You can double click and pan and resize it, so now I have my overall site plan. Here in Properties, Display Locked, yes or no. So what that means, if I lock it and I go in here, if I zoom, it doesn't allow me to zoom into model space. It freezes it. It locks the viewport for editing. That's really, really handy because sometimes you'll be working in Paperspace and you'll accidentally activate a viewport, and then you'll start zooming in there and suddenly your viewport's all out of whack and it's all out of scale. You can unlock it again if you need to resize your viewport. When it says on, that means, is it on? Turn it off. Then you don't actually see into model space anymore. You can turn off that viewport. Turn it back on. Annotation scale. Don't confuse annotation scale with your standard and your custom scale. So you want to always look at standard and custom scale. So standard scale is 1 to 10. And then our decimal equivalent there is the 0.1 value. So when I go to print and I go to preview, you'll see that even though my viewports are turned on, they're not going to print. They're not going to show up. So that's why the no plot feature is nice, because you can still see the boundaries of your viewports, but they're not going to end up printing. Print. There's plot to file. Plot to file creates a .plt file, which is an AutoCAD specific plot file. So rather than plotting to this printer, it plots it to a file. Click plot to file, click OK, and then it's just going to ask you where you want to save this file. And you see it's a .plt. You can save the file the same name as the drawing itself.